I suppose we will move on, because that is only the curtain raiser. The big game of the weekend, it comes on Sunday, which serves as a perfect... This one is timed right.
Yes.
It's kicking off at 12:45 local time, which is 11:45 GMT, which leaves it perfectly just before the Scotland-Ireland game later that day in the Six Nations. But it is between Spain and Georgia. Los Leones and Georgia.
Just
Georgia.
Just Georgia.
In this competition, you just need to say Georgia, and it's scary for any team.
Totally.
These two are fantastic teams. It's going to be Spain with the home advantage, which they probably will need. It's going to be played in the Estadio Nacional Complutense in Madrid.
It's a college campus, I think.
Right. In Madrid. Weather to be nice, sunny. Spanish in general,
it's to be lovely. It's to be lovely next week, which will play in their favour. I think the Spanish. There was a moments in that Portugal game where the Georgians were blowing, and they did seem to be feeling the weather,
the heat of it. Guys were shedding scrum caps that they hadn't been wearing in the first half.
That's right.
That's always a telltale sign, and definitely a part of Spain's plan is to keep the pace high. But it just in terms of colour, it's the biggest game of the tournament, because as we were saying in our preview last week, these are the two teams that are the form sides going in. You had Georgia coming off the Autumn Nations Cup showings, where they got some good exposure to top teams. They're also coming up off years of dominating this tournament, which is more to the point. And then you have the Spanish, who are fresh from a really good 2-test series against... that was Portugal I'm thinking of. But they're coming off just being... one of the more dynamic teams in the competition. And
they have fantastic handling ability, and they are playing like a real... They've said as much. They're playing a real Japanese-inspired style of rugby, where they want to qualify for the World Cup by playing at a ridiculous tempo and moving it to the extremities and working their own advantages, which are speed and footballing ability.
Every single one of their players can kick a ball, because they can
playmaking ability as well, like footy as opposed to necessarily just football, but footballing ability in the wide channels is huge for them. And just moving the Georgians around. It's the game between the best two teams in the competition, and it's a wonderful clash of styles.
And it's probably the most certainly now that the Portugal game is under Georgia's belt and they're through it unscathed, it's the most likely source of an upset on this Georgia team, I would say.
100%.
Just on a stylistic basis, like there's scope for this Spanish team to just click, and the first quarter to be try. And now it's like 14 or 21. Oh my God, Georgia have to chase a game. What? And Georgia, while being very clinical at this level, they're still not quick to score.
No.
Like, their drives take minutes off the clock. So if you can get a lead and get them chasing and get them blowing and get them chasing your shadows, that's definitely the way we've seen it done to Georgia. We saw Georgia a few years ago went on a tour of Argentina and got absolutely hosed by the speed and the heat, and just they were torn asunder by it. And that is the recipe.
Are a different level, but
they are, but that's still the recipe that you're looking for Spain in terms of their winning conditions. It's getting that pace up, getting the ball in play time high, getting the phase play going, using the full width of the pitch, and just making the Georgians chase them and not be able to impose themselves and not be able to impose their game.
Early scoreboard pressure is huge as well. Just as you say, getting the Georgians to chase the game would be absolutely massive. Likewise, exploiting the ill discipline. Portugal did a good job of this. Like, if Georgia are getting on the wrong side of the ref, that can break down their picture a little bit.
And it does happen. A lot of refs don't like the way they play.
And just winning the territory game. I mean, Georgia dominate the territory game in this competition because of their set piece proficiency and their physicality, where they've actually worked a really good method of getting the ball to the wide channels and getting their back rowers in the ball and charging through soft mismatches.
I think it was last year's Rugby Championship or Rugby Europe Championship, or maybe the year before, or both, where they were almost exclusively exiting that way. They literally just would pass it from one side of the pitch, 3 stuttery passes that were not great at all, and it would just find its way meandering across to the other touchline, where there's a big back rower who would just swat aside the first 2 tacklers and charge into the 22.
Indeed, it's because the mismatch is so brutal. But what Spain do have over Georgia, the reason that Georgia have to innovate in that way, is that their kicking game is rubbish, and Spain's kicking game is not rubbish.
No, it's one of the better parts of their game. It's the fact that all of them can kick.
So I mean, for owning the territory battle and not allowing Georgia to set up in their 22 for as often as possible is a huge vital component to Spain's play. If you looked at the way that the game was refereed last week between Portugal and Georgia, Georgians were caught for sealing a few times when they were trying to play out from the back, out from deep. If Spain kick it deep and keep kicking it deep and pin them back in their corners and keep forcing them to play out or engage in a kicking contest, which they know they're not really comfortable with, that's a good picture for Spain. And if they can catch them forcing the issue and then take points from there, that's going to be that's a huge potential positive for Spain.
Yeah, indeed. Generally it is about setting their tempo as opposed to the Georgians one. It's about controlling the pill as well. Like, one of the things is forward passes and drops. You need to limit them.
The error count has
as much
to be
as
stopped.
this
is where kicking game comes in. Don't force the issue. You force it in your own half, you're playing into their hands. Because that's where they want to be. Georgians, more than anything else, are about territory.
They love territory. They love setting up an offense right there on your line and then taking 10 minutes off the clock while scoring a try and injuring 4 of your men in the process. Like, all of that's the Georgian picture. Whereas if the Spanish can just kick them deep and force them to start again, that's fine. But it's also, avoid breakdowns, because you're probably not going to win that physical battle. Try and keep the ball alive, keep that tempo, switch the point of contact and use your passing game as well, but crucially try not to drop it, because the drops and the forward passes when you're forcing the issue, they will result in scrums, and more often than not at this level against Georgia, that results in penalties and that results in the territory, and that then it results in 10 minutes of game time where you're defending Georgians and eventually conceding a try, as opposed to spending the time with the Georgians kind of floundering, trying to get out, because their kicking game isn't great and their exiting isn't great. You want to try and force them to force it themselves.
But they have to be brave as well. Like, I know they can't make errors, but they do have to get outside the Georgians.
Don't drop it doesn't mean don't pass it.
No, you have to. You can't play tight. You have to play wide. You have to get outside their big forwards and set up matchups that you like against their outside backs. That's your best chance to put points on the board. I do think that the forward pack is going to have to step up to some extent if they're going to win the game.
Back row should be pressuring the likes of Kamaladze at 10, who is just super dodgy, and if even when a pass is there, he often doesn't throw it. So if you put him under pressure, he'll probably take contact, and that slows them all up.
Exactly. And one of the key ways to stymie Georgia is when they're throwing those clunky passes across to the back row or on the wing, don't let it get to them.
You
got to come up with a bit of speed and
ball.
force the Georgians to throw like a dodgy pass. They won't throw it.
They will go into the contact, and even if they win the collision, then at least they haven't got it.
Provided it's not their back rower on the ball, like, you just limit the times that Chalagonia can have it, and Saganadze can have it,
because they will do all kinds of damage.
Which is why they shouldn't box kick either, because those guys are sitting under box kicks and countering, and that's not right. They should kick deep. They know how to kick, the Spanish. Don't box kick. It's wrong. You can see that. You're footballing men. Box kicks are silly. Don't box kick to the Georgians. I'll be very cross. I will.
It might happen.
I'll fly to Spain and get out to you if you box kick to the Georgians, because it's silly. It's not right.
Would that be a necessary journey? Would you be allowed out?
A box kick creates a 50-50, which a lot of the time results in a knock-on, and a knock-on is no good to you no matter who does it.
Indeed.
So don't box kick. Kick deep. Kick for territory. Don't box kick to the Georgians. They're countering well off the box kicks, the Georgians.
They are.
So Spain have to play.
They saw a lot of top level ones. They got into box kicking matches with Wales and
and we're in it for 60 minutes.
No, indeed. So you're not going to win it that way. No, you need to play their game. You need to play a Spanish kind of brand of game. Make the tempo high. Grab the tries. Pressure the Georgians. And create the unlikely upset that we all kind of
smarter,
hope for.
quicker rugby.
They need speed of thought and action. Both need to be the key things for Spain. And then conversely for Georgia, like, it's the opposite. They win this game with just domination up front and a slower tempo but a deliberate one, and slow tempo doesn't mean not clinical. They were mighty clinical against Portugal. They showed the exact picture of how to win.
Went to the corner every time, scored 5 tries.
Because especially they don't have an expert place kicker on the pitch that they have so kind of chipping it out kind of speculatively themselves. So they will be kicking the corners and they will be trusting their set piece and maul to launch off. One of the great improvements was their maul. It was always a curiosity even in the last couple of years that Georgia are such a great forward oriented kind of team, and yet their maul was pretty poor. They'd jump at 2 every time and never set it up and get driven out.
In the second row. I always think that their second rows look a bit wrong. They don't have enough sort of skinny guys. They always just look like back rowers.
Auxiliary back row men.
And so they're like they can look not dynamic in the line out.
Yeah.
But actually their line out was very good.
It was much better, and they were mixing it up. They were going to the front and the back, and they seem to have taken some good lessons, some good learnings from their Autumn Nations Cup campaign, albeit it was an 0-4 campaign, including a tonking at the hands of Fiji at the end.
Yes.
They managed to address some of the glaring problems that we're seeing that gulf pronounced between them and the tier 1 sides. Things like their box kicking, their exit play in general, their maul transitions. They tried it. I think they managed to get into the red zone on against every tier 1 team. They certainly did it against Ireland. They certainly did it against Wales, where they managed to set up their picture. They've got 5 meters out. They're going to the line out. And you can just, before the hooker even cleans the ball, you can see that they're jumping at 2. You can see it through the screen. They're just jumping at 2. There's no deception. There's no movement. There's just a guy at 2. And there he jumps, and there he's pushed out. And it's like, chance over. And they've mixed that up ever since. They even though they know that the level is a few rungs below, they're not content to just jump at 2, and they're not content to box kick aimlessly either. They seem kind of determined to grow. There's only so long you're going
to get away with that. Like you have to keep moving forward, otherwise you're moving backwards.
Indeed.
And with Spain coming after them, they're going to have to play with a bit more innovation and a bit more layers to their game than the usual forward power. Although the forward power is the basis of it. One of the areas where I think they made massive improvements last week as well, and actually this was true in the Autumn Nations Cup, is that they actually brought a bit more energy on defence, a bit more quality on defence. Like at their worst, the Georgians can be a bit worse than you'd expect them to be for big men on the defensive side of the ball, often shipping tries. You think some of those World Cup showings, like the one against Fiji where they were just ran ragged. They actually seem to have brought a much more pressure defense, like getting off the line. Which is what they always should have had.
It was a constant foible of theirs that they'd be dominating the contacts when they have the ball tucked under their arm, and then soaking contacts when they're tackling, and it's like, why? You're the same guy, and you can still monster people
both
without
your
the
arms
ball.
now, and absolutely. I think they've made an active effort to improve in that area, and even the tight head Mikulidze or Melakidze getting a couple of class steals. That's just added layers to their defensive game as well. And I think there is scope for them to win this game with their defense, because Spain is an offensive team. They move the ball really well. If the Georgians can get off the line, maintain their discipline obviously and their tackle height and all of that stuff, it has to be done in a controlled manner. But if they can play with, if they can defend aggressively and get in Spain's faces and force turnovers and force errors, that's very much that can shut them down.
What will shut them down is, and as well as with the territory and whatnot, but the physicality. Like the Spanish winning picture is to have the Georgians chasing shadows all day. Georgian picture is just getting their hands on them. You know, like rather than shadows, it's like, I'll grab you, and now I have you. And it's like, oh no,
and it's nice and slow as well. Nothing like a good slow Georgian tackle. Where like he's got a hold of you and then he wraps you up, you can't offload, and he's not taking you to deck yet.
Not just yet.
We're just
going
to
walk slowly, wrestle you down.
Any hint of quick ball is gone, and that's sort of the defensive picture they need to paint.
And they're good at that. They do marauding kind of wrap tackles when they do get their hands on these guys at this level. There is a gulf in physicality. Like the Georgians do have freaky innate strength that serves them well. It means that they're one of the few tier 2 sides that can mix it with the big boys, because they are physically there for the fight. And in this competition, it means that they're just just on a different level as far as that contact is concerned. So Spain need to avoid it. Georgia need to instigate it. And
I think actually Georgia, from an exit point of view, turnovers and set piece is the key thing that they need to do without the kicking game. They are the one team that I would recommend taking a maul off a midfield set piece. Because actually, unless they have a plan to flick it wide and they're confident they're going to get it there, the maul can be a great penalty generator for them.
And
they kind of need penalties to come down the field, because their kicking game is kind of unslick and not great.
And then certainly without Tato at 10, it's just very ordinary.
In the Kiwi sense of that term,
which just means dismal.
Indeed. Winning the forward battle, dominating that part of the game, using set piece and turnovers to generate penalties to get up the field. And then, the odd play where they flash it wide to their back rowers, busting through, linking up and taking tries once they are in the red zone. But they're very much a get to the red zone and then score kind of team. Although it would be nice to see them expand their game and keep working those wide plays in and maybe take a few tries from deep.
A few tries from deep would be nice to see. Again, different scoring pictures, always good in a side that's growing.
Because they know they need to get better.
They do, and that's why it's encouraging to see some of these work-ons that they're obviously implementing. They've taken some harsh lessons that have been dealt to them recently, but they seem to be acting on them, and they seem to be trying to address them. So with all that being said, how do you see it going?
Yeah, I don't see... Well, it's difficult because we haven't seen Spain yet this year.
Yeah.
I granted they had a very impressive win against Portugal earlier this month.
They did.
But it is a new season. Spain are very good. Like, they beat Portugal by a comparable scoreline.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's going to be a massively one-sided game.
Mm-hmm.
I think Spain will fire some shots. I think Spain will score some tries. I think Georgia to nick it, but it to be a one-score game.
There you go.
I think like 20 to 18 maybe for Georgia. Tight one.
There you go.
That's my
call. I'm gonna throw the app and push it out, which you don't tend to get very far by rooting against Georgia in this tournament. But I'm gonna say Spain upset that.
Los Leones.
They strike in the first half, catch them cold, win some battles, get them chasing shadows, score some tries, and then hold on. Maybe even a clutch score at 60 minutes to kind of to take it away, and then Georgia come back and make it a one-score game with a score at the end that doesn't actually affect the result. That's what I'm hoping, and I would love to see it. Like,
would definitely be a
rugby
spanner in the works.
Yeah, this competition does need a bit of shaking up, and I think Georgia maybe need their pants down. That being said, I think that's an unlikely thing to happen, but I'm still going to predict it. I'm still going to predict it. But hopefully Los Leones can light it up on their first showing in this tournament and a home showing and make it a razzle-dazzle fixture. One thing's for sure: if Spain win it, it's probably a prettier game of rugby.
Maybe it depends on your point of view, Shane.
It does.
I like some of those Georgian tries. Were damn fine,
beautiful, fine maul there.
Yeah, they were delicious.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, what was my best try of the World Cup? Was it Kenki Fukuoka dancing down the touchline, or was it the 50-meter ball to crush the Japanese?
Yes, both of those were pretty in their own way. I suppose the Springbok definition of pretty definitely does have 50-meter mauls. Well in its wheelhouse.
Likewise, the Georgians. It's just from that ilk.
Yeah.
Listen, I think it's going to be a great game one way or another. And if you want to watch it Sunday afternoon, as I say, a few hours before the Ireland match, great curtain raiser for it. It's rugbyeurope.tv, I'm pretty sure.
That's right. Yeah.
I'm going to post the link
probably in the description down below.
Yeah, I'll try and post it in the comments as well of this shorter vid anyway. And we'll hopefully if you guys are intrigued enough, you'll tune in, because I think this is the match to get you into Rugby Europe if there is any match.
This is the game of the tournament.
It's the game to watch.
Yeah,
if you're only going to watch one game, this is the one.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right, with that we will move on to the
Thank you very much for watching the Overlap Rugby podcast. If you enjoyed that video, be sure to give it a like, share with your friends, and leave a comment down below as well. We really do want to hear your thoughts.